Yeah, just trying
Spread
to
out all over the place.
figure out what's what here. I know this is yours.
Really am spread out, yep.
The next motion is 20-329 to approve the July 2020 clerk's report
Is this
as
yours too,
presented on a roll call vote.
Oh, maybe it is.
If it ain't just slide it back over.
Just taking the whole desk, that's my plan here.
The next motion is 20-330 to recess this open session and go into a closed executive session for a period of not more than 20 minutes to discuss items that would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship, to discuss landfill negotiations, and to include the Board of County Commissioners, County Councilor Jim Emerson, and Mr. Pete Peterson via phone call, and to reconvene by 11:15 a.m. The next motion is 20-331 to recess this open session and go into a closed executive session for a period of not more than 10 minutes to discuss the noxious weed department under non-elected personnel and to include the Board of County Commissioners and County Councilor Jim Emerson, and to reconvene by 11:26 a.m. The next motion is 20-332 to recess this open session and go into a closed executive session for a period of not more than 10 minutes to discuss the evaluation process under non-elected personnel and to include the Board of County Commissioners and County Councilor Jim Emerson, and to reconvene by 11:35 a.m. The next motion is 20-333 to recess this open session to hold a work session on the 2021 county budget and to reconvene at 12:05 p.m. And the last motion is 20-334 to approve the Crawford County 2021 budget for publication with a hearing date set for August 28th, 2020 at 10 a.m.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yesterday, we had 418 in the county positives total. Out of that 418, we have 26 in isolation, so those are active cases, and we have 76 in quarantine. Via Christi has 2 persons under investigation, no positives, and Girard Medical Center has 0. No vents at this time. And we have got all of the epi nurses started, the 3 new ones. One is completely trained, and she's working with the 2 epi nurses to get some experience, and then the other 2 will be done with their training soon. So hopefully by the end of this week, all of them will be trained and ready to go.
Good.
And I will be emailing today to all the school nurses to let them know which epi nurse is with their district and who to contact, phone numbers, emails, all that good stuff. So I think that it's going pretty good. And we almost finished with school inspections. Dr. Stebbins is finishing 2 elementaries in Pittsburgh, and we'll be done. So that will be complete. How about questions?
PSU?
Oh, PSU, yes, I just got a text from the PSU. They have all of the results in. They had a total of 15 positive. 2 are actually out of isolation already. So and those are not all included in Crawford County numbers because it goes by their home address. There are a few of them that are, probably a handful that are Crawford County. The others are other states or just other Kansas counties. So they have all their test results in though at this time. So that was
And
actually
are-
pretty
are
low
any of
percentage.
those, quarantining
Yeah.
here at the La Quinta?
There are actually some contacts quarantining at the La Quinta, and then a couple of positives as well. For the most part, they've tried to send most of them home though, so we don't have very many in the La Quinta. Some actually are renting houses in town or live in town, so some are staying in town as well. Yeah. But we're still contacting them, getting their contacts, all of that good stuff, because they just finished up Sunday. So we're still working. They did their testing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so we're still working on the contact tracing. But it's going good.
But all of the test results?
All the test results are in. Yeah. Now, they'll still be testing students in their Pitt State Student Health Center. If someone would come in, they're still doing testing. But from the weekend, the way I understand that the test results are in.
Okay. As far as testing in the health center, in the student health center goes, do they have requirements of like you have to show symptoms, or can it be anybody?
I do not know exactly what they've set their requirements are. Ours, KDHE, the requirements set by the state are 2 symptoms. But individual private clinics or even the student health center, their medical director could set their own requirements. So I don't know exactly what they've set, but I can find out.
I would be interested to see. 'Cause
Yeah,
they
I could
have
find
their own
out.
testing machine?
No, they're sending it off to a lab. Actually, they're doing the saliva test and sending that to Cytocheck in
Cytocheck,
Parsons, which has had a really good turnaround time,
Yep.
24 hours. Of course, on a Sunday, it takes a little longer when you
Right.
send Sunday. So, but yeah, so they are doing the saliva. But I can text her even during the meeting, and I'll ask her.
I would be interested to see.
And just
that.
ask her if they're requiring the 2 symptoms or if they're testing asymptomatic and symptomatic.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll find out.
Does the saliva test, is it similar to the nasal swab with asymptomatic?
There's really not necessarily anything that's highly accurate for asymptomatic folks.
Okay.
I've not heard of anything FDA approved, which, I mean, there could be something now out there recently, but I've not heard that any of the tests are FDA approved for asymptomatic folks.
Okay.
They're utilized, of course, we know that, especially when you have outbreaks or clusters. We do test sometimes asymptomatic, or communal living, or a nursing home, like long-term care facility. They test asymptomatic if they have a positive in facilities where people are living together. And sometimes you do get lucky and you just find several of those, that,
Well, it sounded like they had some results with very low viral load
yeah.
that it picked up on, so it has to be accurate. It'd have to pick those up.
Yeah, it is.
they were
I wouldn't say the
asymptomatic.
saliva is any, I haven't heard that it's any less accurate than the nasopharyngeal, but none of them are actually approved for asymptomatic. FDA approved. It doesn't mean you can't use them.
Right,
It
right.
just means use with caution, basically.
Right.
Use it in the context of, okay, like communal living. We're trying to just pick up what we can to
Right.
prevent, because if you think about that, those that we have found could have, went on and passed it along.
could
So
have
it's good to
exploded.
find out.
Yeah.
But it's not actually a true FDA approval of how to use the test. So it's
Right.
just semantics, basically.
Right,
That,
exactly.
Yeah, but it has a purpose, and we have tested asymptomatic when we had our larger outbreak in a plant, and
Correct.
long-term care facilities use it to test asymptomatic residents and staff, just to try to catch those few that might fall through the cracks that are positive without symptoms. So I have a strong feeling there will be more studies to come on the use of that type of thing with asymptomatic. We just don't have that yet from the
Right.
powers that be, those
Right.
kinds of studies, yeah. And there could be something out there I haven't seen too, so.
I also wanted to ask, so KSDE, the Department of Education, had approved the gating criteria.
Yes.
For schools.
Right.
Are we going to be following that now, or what is?
Dr. Stebbins and Dr. Bean have been discussing that with the superintendents, and I don't think that we don't have an official position on that yet. But they have been looking at it, because we did have some criteria that the health officers had put out. I think it's still just a little bit difficult to put it on that percentage. So, and I know in that gating criteria, there were some percentages, because sometimes what's happening, what we're seeing is testing numbers are going down. So if you test 10 people and you have one positive compared to you test 100 people and one positive, then that percentage could be really skewed depending on how many people you're testing. So they're still discussing it. So I think we could talk more about that on Friday. Dr. Stebbins will be here, and I know they've seen it, and we've talked about it a little bit. But I don't know yet if they're going to want to go with that fully or modified. So I will let them know that that's something we could discuss on Friday.
Okay.
Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
perfect.
Okay.
All right.
Any other questions?
No?
And I will text her right now and find out while we're in the
Awesome.
middle of the meeting.
Thank you.
Okay? Yep.
And then Rebecca, before you step down, Friday, I would like to look at, if we're not seeing a drastic increase in cases,
Uh-huh.
I mean, obviously your time and Dr. Seva's time, Dr. Bean's time is probably better used somewhere else. If it's just sort of be kind of even across the keel, I
Sure.
don't know if we need to ask you to come over unless there's a drastic change.
Sure. Yeah, we can talk
I
about
mean-
that more Friday.
That's just to think
know-
about that, because we're having you come over here and go back.
Or I could
twice a
also be
week.
available by phone. I mean, I could be on
That's
by
fine. Or
phone
you could
just to
just-
give
you could
You
everybody.
know, the
send
other
it.
thing I'd like to hear is, I'd like to hear once the school's open,
Right.
how the
Right.
numbers are
That's gonna
coming
be-
in
yeah.
and see
So,
how we're
and this
doing there.
week, we do have schools opening. So, I believe Northeast starts Wednesday and Thursday. Frontenac starts this Thursday and Friday. Girard, I believe, starts this week. Today. So we may know, we may want to just for a few weeks to have at least once a week.
That's
have-
fine. I'm just
have-
saying, with the schools opening,
Yeah.
you're probably more valuable
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
what you're
doing your
saying.
job.
Or I can just be available by phone
If
too.
it's something that's
Yeah,
drastic you think we need to know, then feel free to come. I'm
Absolutely.
not saying you can't come. I'm just saying,
no,
I feel
yeah,
like we're stealing your
definitely.
time to just come give us numbers when we could just read the numbers ourselves if it's not fluctuating too much.
Yes, and I'm going to be working with Samantha on, we've already talked a little bit, hey girl. We've already talked a little bit about the website, and I give her some ideas, what I would like to have on there. I would like to have our numbers, of course, like we've been putting on Facebook, just our total cases, our isolation, our quarantine, our total number of deaths, and we could put anything else we want to on there. If we want to do something, I don't know if we want to do anything with schools or anything like that. I mean, it gets very complicated. It gets very confusing
Right.
very quickly, because it just changes just like that sometimes, it's just
Well,
so fast.
and I would honestly like to see you do what you need to do, but the schools need to release their own information.
feel
If
like
they-
that
If they
too.
see it
Yeah.
fit to release it to the parents, that
Yes.
way the school knows exactly what's going out to
Yeah.
their parents and their community.
Yeah.
Because,
I would feel more comfortable with that, just because things change so quickly. I mean, we'll gather data on anything that the commissioners want us to gather data on. We'll do our best to do that. It's just, I would, if there are entities or organizations that are having outbreaks, just like we've encouraged businesses in the past, it'd be good for them to do press releases and things too.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of questions as to
Yes.
what's going on. So.
Yeah, and really their point of contact needs to be the school, and Pitt State as well, and they've been doing press releases.
Right.
And I've been in contact with their PIOs just this morning, so, and I'm gonna let them contact Samantha as well, and get all that information kind of flowing once we get everything set up. But yeah, so we'll talk with Dr. Stebbins and Bean on Friday about
Okay.
how often they think we should maybe come over.
Like I said, I think 2
It
weeks
would
is
be
better.
helpful to me, to be honest with you, because by the time I get back, like usually half the day is almost
No, I know.
gone, and I have 2,000 emails built up, and it just, with school starting, it does get a little bit,
Hectic, I'm
it's
sure.
gonna get way more hectic, yeah. So, and I could always call in if you want a live
Like I
report as
said,
well.
If
Okay,
things, if the numbers keep going like this, I don't know. I mean, it's just.
we'll play it
it's
by
kinda
ear.
steady,
Yeah,
so.
I'm flexible, whatever, okay.
Rebecca, do you have an update on the mobile testing unit?
Well, so on the mobile testing unit, I guess, that is another question.
Rapid testing, I mean, I'm sorry,
Oh,
rapid
rapid testing, yeah, so we're supposed to be getting our machine in September, the Sophia rapid testing machine. And as soon as you get your machine, then you can order supplies.
Okay.
So, they have to come, train you on your machine, and then they let you order supplies. So hopefully next month we'll have that. And then, the round 2 funding for public health, there is an application, it's due this Friday. But, so I guess what I'm needing to know is what we're gonna be funded through the county from round 1 for. And then what I can do is request some other things through round 2.
Okay.
One thing that we did not request it yet is funding for masks. I think maybe Dawn sent out an email, there's an organization that does the cloth masks, and maybe Tom, I sent it to you. There's a lot of counties doing mask giveaways, just so people have more than one mask to wear around, you know.
Right.
There are probably students that don't have the resources to buy a mask even.
I agree 100%.
So, I mean, I would like to do something with mask giveaways. If we can order some cloth masks, I could apply for that funding in round 2. That's just due this Friday. So I called Jim and talked to him the other day, last Friday, and I just said, I just need to know something this week so that I can get that
Well, I
round 2
think the funding,
grant in.
what we've approved is fine, but we're still waiting on state approval.
Right.
Final.
Right. So I just can't ask for anything that I've already asked for
Exactly.
Right.
from round 1.
Right.
But
So
you don't know what the state.
I don't know. I mean, there's just
Kinda
no
leaves
way
you in
to
limbo
know.
there, doesn't
It totally leaves me in limbo.
Right, so I did receive from Greenbush yesterday, spreadsheets with everything that we sent in. So I'm
Okay.
sure I can get you that information.
Okay.
So you're not double.
I just don't want to, yeah.
You just will not know.
And we,
Right.
yeah, we
When will we
won't.
know, Jim?
There's
September
September
15th.
15th, but
Oh,
there's
wow.
105 of these that just went in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were lucky enough to get an email yesterday that our applications were received, so that was comforting. I'm getting a little nervous about that.
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay, that would work. Well, and this round 2 funding has to be spent by the end of December, just like our round 1 funding.
Yep, right.
So, I mean, I think PPE would be something that would be probably a good thing to ask for. Now, it is competitive with the other 105 counties,
Right.
and it is the 4.12 million. We had to do a letter of intent, and I had no idea what to ask for. We just had to put something, I put 100,000. I don't know what was gonna be approved, what wasn't, so I felt like, I mean, I don't wanna put down more than I think we're gonna ask for, because all the other counties are asking for things too, so,
Maybe.
I don't know. Yeah, you don't know. That's just it. You don't know. There's no way to know. So anyway, that's what I'll do. I'll get with Jim then, and then and I might go ahead and ask for those masks.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
That was
would make sense.
goodwill, I think.
Yeah, it's a not-for-profit organization making them, and they're really inexpensive. I mean, I think it would be nice if we do the mobile testing unit, to be able to take those out with us and give them away in the smaller communities
Yes.
and, you know,
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah. Okay,
All right.
all right. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Okay. I'll get you. Mike's up, I guess.
All right.
I'm just making sure I'm not missing someone
Oh,
looking around.
Did Mike Ealing have anything?
Mike, did you have anything? Sorry. Okay. If read it in his eyes.
I really appreciate being placed ahead of solid waste. In my years of public service, I always hated to, I hated to follow the copy machine repair guy, kids, or the solid waste guy. So, okay, where are we at? Well, Jim mentioned we've submitted the application, and Here's the challenges that we're facing, and Bonnie, is think of this as a funnel, but the funnel keeps changing. The feds have continually changed some of our guidance, which has required us to take applications and change numbers, put them in different categories. The states have asked the feds to please stop changing. But county transfers, programs, and businesses are all operating off of a separate rules. So we continue to interpret those. We wait anxiously for the state so that we can really get rolling, because we equate this to the top of the hill. Now we need to start slowly descending. If you get any questions from the field, Jeremy had one, please let us know or have them call our office. Most of the answers are really simple. This one was the classic, the application was in a different name than the business. So, and we had talked about that earlier. So if you get questions from the field, have them call us, and we'll make it right. Many of these awards will be taxable. That was recent guidance. There may be a little bit of grumbling about that. However, it's tax dollars. So, you know, there's no free lunch. The new business program will become live tomorrow at 8 a.m.
Isn't it noon?
At noon. Oh, it starts at 8 and then it ends at noon. So just a couple comments on that. We're going to open it up.
Oh, our program, not the.
Right, I'm
statewide.
sorry.
No,
This
you're
is-
good.
I'm sorry.
You're good.
This is County Spark, the second
Okay.
business, not-for-profit. We've opened it up for commercial or residential addresses, and trying to take what we believed your intent was. These are primary sources of income from the applicant. So hopefully there'll be some self-weeding. They look at that and say, oh, well, it's not my primary source. So I'm anxious. I know some of you had received some calls after the fact. So if you want us to call anybody and tell them it's live, let us know. Otherwise, feel free to send them to the county website.
Application similar,
It'll be on the website.
but I mean, same
Same
format.
thing. Did we make any changes in the application? Oh, the only change we made was, did you apply previous?
Okay.
And if the answer is yes, you can't
Yeah,
go
you're
on
not. Right.
under
Yep.
this competition. So, so that's looking good. Now we need to make this is an important decision because it will impact the memorandums of agreement. So now that we wait on the state, as soon as we hear approval, all the applicants will receive confirmation from us of the amount to be awarded and requesting information. The reimbursement in the business is pretty straightforward. And I didn't know if you wanted to see these. These MOUs, Bonnie was involved in writing these. I really like them because they're in normal people language. So, reimbursement in business. Business is in a formula. So they send us an MOU, they initial some things, send us a W-9. Our recommendation, we send them a check. And we're pretty much done at that point with business and not-for-profit. So we'll be able to reconcile those and check them off the list. Reimbursement equally should be pretty straightforward. They get an MOU, we need to get a W-9, and we are hoping that at that time, they just go ahead and send us all the receipts. Scan the receipts, we'll get them in the portal that we've developed, And we send them a check, and they're off and running. Everybody's happy. The direct aid, that is where we need some guidance, because we've talked about this before. Direct aid, these are for anticipated expenditures. Could be salary, could be equipment, PPE, whatever with respect to telecommunications. So the big question we have, and Bonnie, I don't necessarily have a recommendation because I don't think there was a clean consensus in our team. Do we send the money up front, so after an applicant, a future expenditure, we get their MOU and W-9, do we send their full award? And then they have to provide documentation later? Do we do half up front, half upon receipt of all the documentation? And we're split, frankly, and could live with any decision you make. We'll make it work. If you send it up front, we may have to bird dog some receipts, clearly. We looked at the list of direct applicants. Most of them are public, so I don't think it would be a big hill, chasing those down. Some of the early childhood centers may be a little more problematic. If it's all reimbursement, maybe you split the hair and it's half up front, half at the end when we receipt, so you have a little leverage. But I think those are the two options that make the most sense. Full reimbursement on direct aid, I think might put some of our smaller businesses in, that'd be pretty tough. So, Bonnie, what did I miss on the reimbursement? Anything? Or the direct aid?
The only thing is, we have to report monthly, so if they are expending payroll, they would need to do a spreadsheet and say, last month we had this much. And to me, payroll might be one issue, because you don't know how much time you're gonna spend. That we might not wanna upfront, but PPE supplies and other expenses that they have coming along, I heard her say, after they get their machine and then there were supplies, well, then we could reimburse that upfront.
Right.
Once she gets them. So it's really just how you want to do it. But we have to turn in monthly reports to the state on how we've expended the funds.
Right. Starting September 15th, right?
Yes.
That they're calling reconciliations.
So some of those items that'll be ordered, I'm assuming you'll get receipt upon purchase, which fulfills your monthly obligation.
Yes, we would just need, an invoice number, a check number, if you used a credit card, those types of things are what they're asking for, purchase orders.
Okay.
Any of those would work for documentation.
Right. One of the examples we talked about as a team, if it's a $2,000 award, and the materials actually cost $1,900. How do we reconcile that?
Right.
Because we probably don't want the money back, but on the other hand, it's not, it's for an intended purpose. So one of the examples we talked about as a team,
or half and half,
if it's a
would be the two
$2,000
options
award,
that make the most sense to us.
and the materials actually cost $1,900. Knowing that this money, we're doing everything we can to get it into
how
the
we gonna-
field as
how do
quickly
we
as we reconcile that.
Right.
Because
Because
we probably don't want the money back.
That's basically our contract.
But on the other hand, it's not,
We're getting this money.
it's
This is what's
it's for an intended purpose. So,
If not, we get it back, correct?
right. So
Right.
one of the examples
Pay 'em
we
up
talked
front on
about as a
direct,
team,
or half and half
if it's a
would be the two
$2,000
options
award,
that make the most sense to us.
and the materials actually cost $1,900. Knowing that this money, we're doing everything we can to get it into
how
the
we gonna-
field as
how do
quickly
we
as reconcile that.
Well,
Because
with
we
memorandum of
probably don't want the money
understanding,
back.
That's basically our contract.
But on the other hand, it's
Sending the
not.
money up front
It's
for-
most of the direct applications, it's going to be pretty straightforward. there's probably going to be a handful that we're going to have to do some bird dogging and some assistance.
Right.
And that's okay. That's what we're here for. Any other questions or thoughts?
No, I agree. I think that the hindrance on small businesses would be considerable
Yeah.
in what is supposed to be aid.
If the county, if the money was not already sitting accessible to the county, I'd probably think differently. But since they paid us up front, that makes sense
Right.
to get that out in the field.
Right.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
so long as we're, as you said, on the back end,
Yes.
sticking to and being like, hey, you need to
Yes.
provide this. It's not free. It's not.
Right.
There are expectations, and if you don't meet those,
Absolutely.
we're going to be coming after you.
Absolutely. So we're going to be reconciling all through the next, well, through December. Really, we want to have this reconciled by November if we can. We're really trying to push it. And we've said that I've never seen anything quite like this. This is there's a lot of moving parts. The guidance is changing. If you could, hindsight's 20/20. There's some things with the application that would have been a lot cleaner, but we didn't know. So my understanding is we'll pay everybody up front, and I don't have any questions. Bonnie, is there anything significant moving ahead now that the commissioners need to know?
So, moving ahead, once the state approves what we submitted for reimbursements and direct aid, once we know what's approved, we will push out the MOUs. And we're gonna use DocuSign to do that. So it will go directly to the entity. Once they sign it, then it will go to Jim for him to sign. And then we'll have a copy, we can have a copy sent to Don if he wants a copy. Or if he wants us to just keep them, whatever he can give them to you in the end, doesn't matter. It's really-
Jim's the
Just Jim.
designated
Okay.
contact,
All right, just Jim.
but, I mean, I'd be glad to be a repository for those and, file them.
But then once we have the MOU, then we would know, and we would send the information to Jim and say, these are the entities we have the MOUs from, you signed them, we're ready for you to disperse the checks.
Okay.
We anticipate small business and reimbursement to be done within probably a month of notification from the state, and then direct aid, of course, will take a little bit more time and have ongoing.
Right. And in the process from your approvals to the report, we found a couple small things. By percentage of the 8.4 million, it's random error, but if you're the recipient, that's a big deal. But we will be able to correct those through the reconciliation process. So one example was we included it in the application, some dollars that you did not want to grant. And so I'd rather have it approved than not approved, but those are all noted, and so they won't be part of the MOU process. So, anything else, Bonnie? Jim, are you comfortable?
Yes, yes,
I did have a question. I noticed, I was looking at the MOU.
Yeah.
On, and you talked about the taxability or
Yes.
potential for taxability
Yes.
for those items. That has yet to be determined, I guess.
My understanding is that's been determined, that the
Yeah.
small business,
Are we gonna be required to send out like 1099s or something like that to inform those people about the
congratulations,
taxability?
congratulations.
Yeah,
Which is why we collected the W-9.
yeah, we'll need all that, because
Yes.
you don't want somebody
Right,
getting dinged by the IRS
right.
2 years down the road. because
Oh, yeah.
they-
And they might see that it's taxable and decide, I don't need that money.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's kind of like you're having to pay part of it back, like
you're right.
matching grants, 10%.
Right,
or
absolutely,
20%.
absolutely, absolutely. So that's a good point, but yes.
But I just wondered where that responsibility would fall on informing the recipient on,
Right.
you know, the actual taxability of that.
Right. Okay. Yeah, congrats. But we'll help. We'll help. And then finally, phase 2 is moving fast. And I'm getting questions from the field. What I did, just because there's so much information, I just copied off those things that I thought were relevant to our discussions, although there's much more in terms of connectivity, the public health priorities, and the public spending overviews. Now, these are additional monies. So what I am encouraging the folks in the field, and I don't think he'd mind if I shared, like Dan Dooling called from Westridge. And my advice to him was call those licensing agencies that you work with, KDHE, KDADS. Call them and ask specifically about Spark 2 funding so you can get on top of it. There's currently an early childhood grants project going on right now. I think the connectivity is going on right now. And yes, it would be great on some of those to have the Spark 1 funding finalized, but it's probably not going to happen. So my advice to folks is get a hold of it, and when in doubt, partner and ask for dollars, so that maybe county health department, while, as an example, is Rebecca still here? Okay, good, because I'm going to use you as an example. So I would too. So one thought would be, gosh, we have phase 1 money, and that's probably going to be obligated. We can't ask for the same thing. But maybe, like on the mask, maybe we want to partner with somebody, if that's allowable. And so that partner, then this would be new dollars for them to be able to buy masks and take some pressure off. So there are different ways to work it. The challenge is this is really moving fast at the agency level. So as I get relevant information, because I'm getting information on the actual grant applications, I will forward those to Jim, and he can forward those to you. He can kind of, so your emails don't get jammed up.
Okay.
Okay. With no further ado, everyone's waiting for waste management.
With bated breath.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Okay, Dr. Jim Triplett, Chairman of the Crawford County Solid Waste Management Committee, with an update.
Well, I agree with Mike. I'd much rather talk about grants than solid waste. But that's not my fate. Jim Triplett, I'm chair of the Solid Waste Management Committee for the county. And I'm sorry I've been kind of unavailable. I've been up in the North Woods about, right on the Canadian-U.S. border in northern Minnesota, 55 miles from the nearest cell tower. And we did have a little bit of internet, but you could Wi-Fi call for about a minute and a half, maybe 2, before it kicked out. So I've been pretty much out of the loop, except that when I've been getting some emails and some other information, I'm a little concerned about the direction things have taken with Waste Corporation. For one thing, the county is solely responsible for the transportation and disposal. That's by statute. KSA 65-3405 is a relevant statute. I gave Commissioner Johnson the original solid waste management plan back when we were part of Southeast Kansas Regional Authority, and which has since disbanded. But our own solid waste plan is the primary reference of what can happen in the county. All you have to do is look at what happened in Cherokee about a year and a half, 2 years ago, when one of the city of Galena leaders and some investors decided they wanted to build a landfill. And they bought land and made all kinds of investments and then turned around and the Solid Waste Planning Committee said, that's not in our plan. We don't want that. And KDHE disapproved. They had no option but to disapprove the application for the landfill. The same thing applies here. If it's not in the plan, then KDHE should not be able to, and probably won't, approve it. I think if the county decides that there is no financial incentive for it to be the dumping ground for the Midwest, then eliminating the landfill and going to a transfer station may be in its best interest. I mean, if you're not getting financially rewarded for being the trash dump for
What's the use?
Missouri and all of these other, I mean, there's only about 7% of the total trash that goes into the landfill comes out of Crawford County. And that can be easily serviced through a transfer station. But that transfer station has to be identified and set up in the solid waste plan before it can be approved. If the county decides that it wants to switch from a landfill to a transfer station, I am reasonably certain that Kansas Department of Health and Environment is not going to have any choice but to pull the permit on the landfill. Now, I'm not exactly sure who your legal representation is, but I'm not particularly impressed, nor do I think they have had your best interest in mind, or they would have gone down this path long ago, because this is the real substance that provides the basis for why the county is in charge of waste disposal. It's by law. It's not up to Waste Corporation or anybody else to be in charge of that. And they can only operate doing that with your blessing, which comes through the solid waste management plan. Now, having said that, I'm also very concerned that we got into this Donnybrook. I mean, I was part of the original landfill wars when Deffenbaugh and Niagara and all of those were vying to get the landfill. And the county approved Deffenbaugh to provide that service. And that's how it started with the host agreement and that was laid out in the original solid waste management plan. We have had, and I'll shift a little bit because I am chairman, CEO and chairman of the board for the recycling center, an independent entity, but Waste Corporation has been a real strong supporter. The fellow who runs the landfill has been very cooperative, a strong supporter and a participant. And we have a landfill that we should be proud of. So, I'm a little concerned that down in the trenches here, we have outstanding working relationships. I mean, Waste Corp provides a 30-yard roll-off for free that they haul every couple of months to support the dismantling of the e-waste. They provide 3 6-yard roll-offs a week for free to support the pay-as-you-throw program. In turn, we take the awful, horrible compactor from the casino with all of the wine bottles and supposed to be cardboard for them to save them from having to haul it. In other words, what I'm saying is the working relationship at the local level has been very good. And I hate to see that destroyed by a war at the corporate level. Just got a call when I got back from Dan Bowley and the first thing he started off with was all of the roll-off contracts being awarded to somebody else instead of Waste Corp. Well, I think we go around poking sticks in each other's eyes, we're not going to see a clear path for cooperation. We've got a good deal. We've got one of the best landfill operations in the Midwest. It's really considered top drawer, you know? But here again, if it's not in your best interest financially to be the trash deposit for the Midwest, then you need to look at something else. And I think the Solid Waste Planning Committee is more than happy to take a look at the Solid Waste Management Plan and make some recommended changes if that's what needs to happen. If we can't get some kind of cooperative agreement, a reasonable contract. And frankly, the landfill, our landfill, is the cheapest one in the region. If you look at what the landfill operators are having to pay in Missouri or Arkansas or other places, you'll find that they got the best deal of anybody around. So asking for a reasonable increase in the host fee is not unreasonable. It's justified by what's going on in surrounding landfills. The fact that they're threatening to operate without the blessing of the county, I don't believe is possible. I don't think they can do that. I think whoever represents you should have looked at the statutes and should have worked with legal in Kansas Department of Health and Environment to make sure that you know what your responsibilities are and what your leverages are. I'd just like for this war to go away and for them to agree to a reasonable contract and we go along the way we are. But if not, there are alternatives.
You know, Dr. Jim, they've pretty much turned their nose up at everything we've asked for.
Say again?
I said that they have pretty much said no to every, concession we've asked them to make.
I don't think they really want to have to close their landfill and leave. And that's what would happen if they are eliminated from the solid waste management plan. KDHE has put really strong stock in the county expressing the way it wants to handle solid waste, the charge they've been given through that solid waste plan. And there are other counties that have eliminated landfills and gone to transfer stations.
So that definitely doesn't come with a cheaper cost.
Pardon? It doesn't come with cheaper costs,
I mean-
it just puts you in control and,
Right.
and you're not having to accept all the trash from the Midwest for nothing.
Right.
You know, you need to be compensated, reimbursed.
Well, and we're
for-
not accepting everything for nothing. We may not be happy with what we're getting, but we're not getting nothing yet.
Well,
And-
you know,
and-
like I say, if your legal counsel is suggesting you accept what they have offered you, then you might want to look at your legal counsel to see who they really support and service. If they have done nothing but corporate litigation and not work for government, municipal or county government, I would be very seriously concerned because their livelihood down the track is going to depend on their reputation with
I
corporate
think they've
industry.
done both,
I think they have.
pretty sure.
Anyway, I just developed some concerns on what I heard when I got back, and I wanted to share with you my experience. I mean, I'm the charter chair of this committee. We formed one of the first committees in the state, and in fact, KDHE had me going around to other counties to help them try to get organized and get their committees going. They have put a lot of power, frankly, in the solid waste planning committee. And if it's not in your solid waste plan, it's not supposed to happen, and KDHE is not supposed to issue a permit. Okay?
Sounds like we have a lot to talk about.
And from the very get-go, my biggest thing is this is a service that we provide residents, whether what the percentage is, I don't care. And my biggest concern was making sure that service doesn't triple or quadruple as a result of this contract. Just because there's people that can't afford trash service right now.
Sure.
And when they can't afford it because of an action we've done, we'll be the ones addressing it.
Right.
Well, I won't, but our guys will be ones picking it
They'll
out
be in
for
the ditches.
ditches and the roads and the bridges again. And that's when you have, I mean, I don't know. You look at some other counties, they actually provide a service within the county. If you go down to Grove, it's fairly clean, but they have a place everyone can go dump. If they can't afford to get picked up at the house, they have a place to take it for free, which we do. Not very many people utilize it because it's so far across the county, but that's my thing. It's still a service. So I want to be careful on how we poke the bear, because a transfer station, in my mind, is going to be counterproductive. You're gonna see more of that on the road, because Danny Smith doesn't have time to be chasing people down for trash, even though he does a really good job at that.
Sure.
Because I'm the guy, believe it or not, if I'm driving down a county road and I see trash, I'm the guy that digs in it and I find an envelope and then I make a phone call, and guess what happens? They make them clean it up. But they can't do that all day, every day. And that's, so we
Yeah.
have some questions to get answered on that, but I don't know what those answers
Well,
are.
I'm just saying that the threats that they made, that they would just essentially operate without a contract and not negotiate with you, is not possible.
We can
That
definitely
is
ask for,
definitely-
we can ask for clarification on that. That's easy.
That's good to know, because, like I said, we've kind of set back and, I hate to say took it, but that's what I feel like we've done thus far.
Your legal counsel should have given you a complete review of all the statutes involved and what your responsibilities and what your.
Did they in the beginning?
Been a long time ago.
We've went through a substantial amount of stuff in the beginning, and then COVID derailed this train pretty heavy. I thought we had that, but I don't, I'd have to look back at my stacks and stuff. We can look and see. Yep, I appreciate your time.
Well, that's what I know from the history of being involved in this from the beginning.
Right.
And the most recent thing that occurred down in Cherokee County reinforces the fact that the county still is in charge
Right.
of that. Nobody comes in and starts a solid waste disposal system without it being in the plan. Okay?
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Lots of
Triplett.
luck.
Yeah.
We need it. Hey, Tim, is-
Tim, are you raising your hand back there?
Yeah, you bet. I'd like some input.
could you come up and state your name for the record?
If you haven't watched the meetings online, you can't hear anything if they're not up by the mic, so,
Yeah, I've watched a couple of them. You're right, yeah.
especially the mask thing.
Tim Llewellyn with Shorts Trash. I talked to Jeremy last Friday, and I don't have your emails. The reason I didn't send you that. I just looked up.
I found it myself, I looked it up.
Did you? All right.
Yep.
WCA's been sold. You may not be negotiating with the right people. I talked to Dwight about this last Friday after me and you talked. He wanted to make sure y'all knew that the new corporation, that may be why you got the deadline. It very well may be. Typically, when a company is sold like that, all negotiations and all that stuff have to be done by the time it's supposed to close.
Okay.
Now, that may or may not be true, I don't know.
Right.
Because I'm not in that situation, but that could be one reason you got that deadline. I don't know the solid waste plan near like that man back here, I'm gonna find out. But that's something I would definitely look into, is if you're talking to the right people. The new corporation may be a little bit friendlier, I don't know.
Right.
They're I can't remember the words Dwight used, it's a money company basically, and they,
Private equity funded primarily.
private equity funded, they go in and do a lot of stuff like this. They bought a bunch of the divestitures from when Waste Management bought Waste Pro. when a corporation as big as Waste Management or somebody buys something, it has to be approved at the federal level, and then the federal government can say, all right, you gotta divest of so much of this stuff. You gotta sell it off, in other words. Same thing happened when Waste bought Deffenbaugh. So much of Deffenbaugh had to be sold off to other companies. But this is no different. And there may be some of this WCA, I don't know. I don't know if this private equity firm is big enough yet to cause that. But I know that's where they came from initially, is they started buying stuff from this divestiture. So just check and make sure that, you know, I'll send the link to Jim. Just check and make sure you're talking to the right folks, all right?
Okay.
Yeah.
And if we can help in any way, you just let us know, all right?
Right, well, that makes sense. If it's already happened, that's,
Because he asked me about the transfer station last week. We are still moving forward with that. We've had a little development over where we're at. We may be in a different location in the future, we'll see. Still gonna be in that area, all right? But I'd just soon build it right where I'm at, but we'll see what happens. But that'll be for us, and there's an opportunity, we might be able to get a location that's already permitted. So if that's a possibility, that's something we're looking at. Because then that would, I assume, already be in the solid waste plan.
right.
I learned a couple of things today I didn't already know, so never hurts to listen. But if there's anything we can do to help, just let us know. And a transfer station, if we do get it built eventually, it'll be open to the public, just like you're talking about, all right?
That'd be good.
And it'll be closer for folks too, so.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
Jim, do we want to, knowing that information, do we want to try to call Pete today and see, and just, I'm wondering if the negotiation component of it changed drastically because of that buyout?
I think
Or
that
is that something we
we'll,
set up for Friday?
let's have an executive session, which I think is in the plans
Okay,
among us
Today?
today,
okay.
Yes.
with some information Jeremy has, and then, yeah, if we want to do that Friday, that's fine. But let's talk about it today.
Let's talk amongst ourselves. and-
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I guess everything else will fall under new business or old business, correct? Oh, Mac,
Mac, did you have something?
you want to do it?
Just real quick, I know that the commission agreed to go ahead and let the court start some processes so we can get back open. We're in the process of getting barriers up in the courtrooms. And I talked to Jim, I think it was one day last week, about getting that started. In fact, that's why I'm here today. We were doing some measuring in the courtroom and seeing what that's gonna take. But after I talked to Jim, my thought was, well, okay, we get all these barriers in place, but we have nobody to clean after we have in-person hearings. And part of our application for direct aid was 3 cleaning positions for Crawford County. So I don't know if I can go ahead and proceed with that.
When are you scheduled to start doing court? Have they set a date yet?
Not a specific date. We were talking this morning that I think what we're going to do is we're going to get some temporary barriers in place in this courtroom, and while they're in the process of building something more permanent.
Okay.
So, you know, as early as midweek next week, just guessing. I mean, that's what the working with Arnett Glass, and he's working with PRG.
Okay.
So if we can get some temporary stuff in place, you know, and the thought is, okay, we get temporary stuff in place here until, you know, the permanent stuff is available, you know, the framing and all that stuff that goes along with the glass, and then take that temporary stuff to Pittsburgh, put it in place over there, and get them going.
So if you have your temporary setup, then court will start? Is that? kinda
In
what-
person, yeah. Limited in-person court stuff.
Yeah, then I think, go ahead and see if you can find someone. If that's what it's gonna take to get court going, you guys can get started, you're never gonna get caught up. I mean, it's a mess. But I'm fine with that.
Yeah, you're talking about 3 employees?
I don't think we need 3 in the immediate. I mean, we have, I'm drawing a blank. Larry and Ben over in Pittsburgh, they can help us out as much as they can, and particularly if we only get one courtroom up and running over there, they can take care of that. But as we get the other 2 courtrooms going in Pittsburgh, then you're going to need to add a person or persons over there.
Right. No, I think that's kind of what we agreed
How
upon.
long yeah, I agree. How long do you foresee these people being with you? These 3 new employees?
Well, the funding's only available till December 31st, so, I mean,
There's
I
some
think,
To get
you
you
know,
by till then? Is that what we're talking about?
yeah, I mean, if I were to put the process together, it would be with the understanding that, this is a temporary position until December 31st, 2020. Now, if the county decides to pay that person beyond that, then, I mean, that would be discussed at a later
Right.
date.
Okay.
But today, I guess, we're just looking at to get to the end of the
To
year.
the end of the year, right.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I just told Mac that, like we talked about at the end of the meeting, the last meeting, trying to bring some more of these to the commissioners, so.
Right, that's fine.
Yeah, give approval on things I should, but things we know that need to be
Well, if it's an
done,
immediate need right now to get things rolling, I think I'm good with it. I think it needs to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then my next question, who's going to be involved in hiring that person or persons? Do you want me to do it? County commission want to do it?
Why don't we just put it on our county website and see what we get, and then we'll send them to you.
Or if you have somebody that's interested, send them to that website, we can get it rolling.
Yeah.
Sooner the better, sounds like.
And I'm fine with that. You'll take care of whoever
Yeah,
is going to put that out on the website?
yeah, we
Yep.
can do that.
Yeah, we can get something set up. I don't know if I'm not sure. I mean, we can write some kind of little description of the position. That's probably the thing you're gonna need. Well, that we can borrow some language from some of our other job.
Yeah, we got somebody here to take care of that.
Yeah. We got a wordsmith out there.
She's out here, so she'll
Okay.
she'll get taken care of.
All right.
That work?
Thanks, gentlemen.
You bet, thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay,
question.
okay.
So Taylor from Pitt State emailed me back. She said they are testing mostly symptomatic folks. Of course, they tested their communal living folks that were asymptomatic, but now it will be prioritized for symptomatic folks. She just said symptomatic, so I'm assuming any symptoms. But in some situations, they might go ahead and test exposures. So I think it'll depend case by case,
Right.
but they're prioritizing symptomatic now. Okay?
Cool.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for the update.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to new business. I guess, are we gonna talk to our new PIO during new business? Or are you gonna do executive session? Okay, so you have to wait just a little bit. So Jim, do you have anything for new business?
New business. Yes, I had a request from Dr. Paoli.
Currently, we pay Kenny Yoakum $100 per call to do dep investigation, deputy coroner position. The coroner requested that be bumped up to $125 per call, as Kenny's doing a wonderful job for him. He's been doing this for a long time, so he's in charge when Dr. Paoni's not available for a call, and also does investigation on deaths. So I would say that's a legitimate request, but we have to have
I'm fine
that
with that.
approved by the commissioners.
Okay.
Would that require any budgetary changes, or?
That
That's a
one kind of
good
floats
question,
anyway,
because
it's kind of a random,
it's pretty random. Some years they're a little bit over, some years they're right on.
yeah.
there's so many different factors that's not a big factor, but the costs up in Kansas City keep growing. Just the number then of cases, it's just random.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
With that,
Do you need a motion for this
Motion,
then?
please.
Yeah, I will move that we increase the pay of the, so it was the deputy,
Deputy Coroner, he's
Coroner,
also Death
or-
Investigator, Kenny Yoakum.
right, for, to $125 per call.
Second.
As we just discussed, I'd like maybe 15-minute executive session under non-elected personnel, and I think I'd like to start with the commissioners, myself, and our new PIO, Samantha Garrett, and then if we want to add maybe later some other folks into that, we can, but I think first I'd like to just talk with the commissioners
okay,
Okay.
perfect.
Yeah.
at the end of the meeting. Thanks.
Okay. Tom?
A couple things. First of all, I'd like to make everybody aware that, as I know you guys know, but we are chipping sealing, I believe, today, starting on Gooding Road.
Yep.
So we want to make everyone aware of that. The second thing is I'd like executive session under attorney-client privilege of 3 commissioners, counsel. Do you want Dr. Jim? Dr. Jim Triplett pertaining to the landfill. And we can do that toward the end.
Yep.
Okay.
Who we have for attorney-client?
Well, the 3 commissioners, counsel, I was gonna see if we take Dr. Jim back.
We can't have him in there.
Okay.
Oh, for the, if we're discussing the contract.
Not under attorney-client, yeah.
Okay.
Really?
He breaks the privilege, yeah, so it's not
Okay.
privileged.
Well, there's,
Gotcha.
we'll start out with the 3 commissioners and counsel.
Right,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks for the
There
clarification.
has been a lot brought to light today that I had no
Yep.
idea. And I'm sure you gentlemen had no idea as well, so we got a lot to talk about.
Mhm.
How
That's all.
long?
Let's go 20 minutes to start.
Okay. Chairman?
I do not have any new business.
I'll wait, because we're gonna have quite a bit going on, to bring up that, Purple Wave list Friday, if that works, and we can give him the okay, but I wanna go through each item, make sure we're not getting rid of something we need. So we can do that later. Well, I guess that's old business, so. Nothing new. We'll go through old, the sheriff's got something old business. Dawn, old business?
Well, yeah. One thing, I did want to, and this probably should have been done under new business, but just wanted to make a statement. We got a lot of phone calls yesterday about these, their applications for advanced ballots by mail that were sent out by a group out of Springfield, Missouri, the Center for Voter Information.
Okay.
And people kind of assume they have they assume they're from us. They have a envelope for them to put those in with our address on them. And they're good forms, everything. We just wanted to make sure that people are aware. I mean, we
It's
had
not coming from the county.
probably 30 or 40 phone calls yesterday, and from a lot of people who have already submitted those applications to us, and then they're concerned that, do I need to fill out this form again and send it to you, and things like that, which that won't hurt. We'll only send out one per voter, but just want to make sure people understand that it's perfectly legal for those organizations to do that. There are probably going to get more of those from candidates and things like that. So we want to make sure people are aware that those aren't our forms, but they are valid forms. And if they haven't already previously submitted one of those applications, we definitely want them to use that if we can. And then might make a statement that we are definitely planning on having some kind of a drop box for ballots to be returned at the Judicial Center in Pittsburgh. And we're working with Secretary of State's office on what kind of a drop box that might be, but there will be something there available.
Is that the only location
Um,
as of right now?
It depends. We're awaiting some more information to see if they might have a few of those drop boxes available. So we might look at some other places, maybe one here in front of the courthouse, maybe one at the Homer Cole Center, something like that, you know, try to get them where people don't have to drive all the way across the county to find one of those if they want to use it. And of course, they're still able to be used by mail, so, delivered to us by mail.
So in the mail, I got just a question, sorry. The mail, the only thing you're really looking at is the postmark to verify date, correct?
Yes.
So Dropbox will be your collection time, and after
Yeah.
that point,
Once we collect them at 7 o'clock on election day, anything deposited after that time would
gone.
not be,
which is, I'm assuming you're gonna remove the boxes, so there is nothing?
Yeah.
Okay.
well, we would just, put a sign there, if you're depositing anything after 7 PM on election day, which our plan would be to have somebody there to pick up everything that's in those
Right.
at 7 o'clock on election day. And then anything received after that would not be, it just
Counted.
like it came into our post office box,
Okay.
2 weeks late. And so, the only other thing I should have given, you guys should all have a copy of the fire district
Yes.
budgets.
Yeah.
Got those put together. I talked to all the chiefs for the fire departments there, and they wanted to keep their mill levy right where it's been for the last couple of years.
Okay.
And if you do want to approve that, this is, I just kind of put the numbers together for them. It's their budget, but I think we would have to have the hearing on September 1st would probably be the first date that I could get it in the paper. Of course, it has to be published, and then we have to have 10 days between the publication date and the hearing date. But I think that would be doable, so I don't know if you guys have any questions about that, or
No, no, if it's the same.
Yeah.
you'll see on that front page, those sewer districts and then the fire district reserve funds. We just have to show, they're not levied funds, so we just have to show activity for the previous year, for 2019, basically what their expenditures were out of those funds. But since there's nothing, we're not submitting any kind of budget for them, you'll see there's no current year or, information for next year's budget in those things, so anyway.
Okay.
That's all I.
Don, I had a quick question, sorry.
Okay.
On the proposed budget section, is there a reason that the ad valorem tax is less than the expenditures? Like I guess I'm not understanding that.
Well, their ad valorem tax, that's basically property tax on homes or personal property. They do, if you look back, about the third page, there's the fund page for Fire District number 1. They do have motor vehicle taxes and other things like that.
So that doesn't represent the entirety of
So,
their-
yeah, the ad valorem tax is by and large, is probably 75 to 80% of their, and that's their only source of income is tax revenues, but they do have some motor vehicle taxes that they collect as well, so that provides the rest of it there. Basically, it's the difference between the ad valorem taxes and the budget amount.
Gotcha.
So yeah, each one of those fire districts, you'll see a fund page for them back in there, and then we have that second page is where we compute the limit that we can set their ad valorem taxes out without doing a resolution and a notice of vote in the paper and all that kind of stuff. And all of those did fall underneath that computed limit, so that's nice. Shows that they're really trying to keep things pretty level, you know. Anyway, any other questions?
Nope.
I don't think so.
And if you guys are, if you want to look it over, fine. If you're good with it though, probably be good to go ahead and do a motion to publish that in the paper. That doesn't mean the budget's approved at this level. You can always reduce that budget in the hearing if you want to. This is basically the limit, kind of the line in the sand that you're drawing, that would be the highest the budget would be without rescheduling the hearing and republishing, something like that.
Any questions?
I have none.
If there's no questions, I'll make a motion to approve the budget as presented for publication.
Second.
Aye.
Thank you, that's all I had for new business.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Jim?
Is that old business?
Tom?
No, sir.
Jeremy?
I was wanting to talk about the CDBG CV committee, although it sounds like there's maybe some discrepancy. We had, I thought, 3 applications, but now it's 2.
Well, we've got 3. We've got, I've never seen the one for Ken.
Right, I don't know
Which,
that
maybe Jim
it might have
has.
gotten lost in the shuffle
I have those
somewhere. I had
to Heather. Had Kim submitted one?
We think it's in my office, so that's,
I remember seeing a physical copy of it, and then,
I can,
We've got those 2, Heather Spoor and Angela
Angela
Meyer.
Myers.
okay.
And submitted those, which I think would both be really good people to have on that.
I don't know, presuming we do find the
Yes, I-
third one,
Gotcha.
We will.
what do we want that committee to look like? Like, just have the 3 of them do it? Do we want to have one of us serve alongside?
I
or-
think we
or
probably
Jim,
need
or-
to have them in the same capacity as our last one as an advisory
Yeah.
committee.
Correct.
And
Right,
then
but we end up signing
The
off. on it.
final say-so will lie with the commission.
Correct.
But there's 3 of them now? Is that what we have?
Well, I've got the 2 applications.
Donna two, and then Kim Vogel put one in.
Okay.
And then I think a commissioner would be, it'd be wise to have a commissioner on as well. to look through. So that, I think that'd be,
Do we need anyone else?
I could help for technical questions.
I was gonna say if you wanted
Wouldn't be a
to.
voting member,
Right.
but I could help with
Advisory.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
I assume you're wanting to be on it, Jeremy?
That's fine, unless one of you wanted to.
I could do it too, it doesn't matter, either way.
Don't matter.
I'm fine with it, but if you wanna,
Well, I'd say we put 2 on, but then again, if
No,
it's just
can't
an
do 2.
advisory committee, then,
No, that's fine, it don't matter, either way.
yeah. All right, well,
I'm curious to see how much,
I can interview you guys after a while and see who best fits.
Yeah.
conduct interviews. Perfect.
okay, so you're gonna make a motion to accept the 3.
Yeah, let's do that.
So who'd you say the third one was?
Heather Spar, Angela Meyer, and
Kim Vogel.
Kim Vogel.
Okay, I'll make a
I'll
motion.
vouch.
I'll make a motion to appoint those to the
CV.
CDBG CV Grant Fund Committee.
Second.
Aye.
And then, do we need to make a motion as far as which commissioner will be on that
Yes.
committee as well?
Yes, let's go ahead and do that.
So, Jeremy wants to do, that's fine.
You sure?
Yeah.
I'll move in that we appoint Jeremy Johnson to the CBDG-CV Advisory Board.
Second.
Aye.
And just while we're talking about that, I've fielded some questions from different businesses. It is not as easy
It's not.
as
No,
the
it's
Spark
pretty
money.
in-depth.
It's way more questions.
So who's the go-to on that as far as troubleshooting problems?
If I have questions, I've been sending them to
Susan.
Susan, who's
Yeah.
administering our program for us. I've been trying to help people as much as I can, but if I can't get them the answers, I'll send them to Susan. One thing we've learned, or maybe that I've learned, because I was under the impression that you only had to, if you're asking for payroll, you had to run the LMI for all of the employees.
Right.
That is not true. That is not true.
You don't, really.
You have to, in order to get any money, now this is what I was told today because I've told someone wrong, so I had to email them. To get any money, you have to be eligible. To be eligible, you have to meet the LMI requirement, and you have to not duplicate funds. So it's 2 thresholds you have to meet before you even get into,
What was the second one?
you can't double dip, basically.
Right, okay.
Can't double
Yeah.
dip. So, an employer, a small business with 1 to 5 employees, only the owner basically has to qualify. If you're over 5 employees, then you have to have all your employees filling out the LMI to make sure you're hitting the 51% LMI. Didn't realize that, so some of these are changing as well. We're getting new information every other day on this, so it's kind of the same as a Spark. It is more complicated because you have to meet the 51% LMI, and the other one we didn't. That's just all the CDBG programs, so that's how they run them, and that's how they're running this, so.
So it's not an average then of employee salaries, it is at least half of your employees have to be LMI.
Half of your employees have to be LMI, and that's your family. You're talking about your family income. So you're turning in your family. Yes. That's not just the employee at
Oh, it's not just the
$7.85
employee then.
an hour, and you run it on the formula.
Right.
It's your family.
Wow, okay.
Right. Now, if you or your family, and that's your salary, then you
Right.
probably qualify, but if you go back and fill out your family income, then you may not. So it's more complicated. And I've had a couple people were, maybe not even gonna try it. They were just gonna stay with the Spark money and
Right.
maybe some money with the state when it comes out this week, so.
How many applications have we gotten?
I'm not sure if we.
I don't think I've gotten any.
We got the one physical one.
Did we get a physical one?
Yeah, that came in, because they had applied through Gerard and then
Okay.
they weren't in Gerard, they were outside of it. so
Okay.
they Just sent it over here.
Through the ones that have downloaded it from the website, I haven't seen any.
Okay.
Okay.
We've had requests to make that a little more user-friendly,
Mm.
and I'm not sure how that will get accomplished, but it's not a fill-in form.
Because it's not a form, it's the actual, like a PDF of the.
Right. Right.
Yeah, if there would be, I mean, it would be probably complicated to turn it electronic,
I
but.
think so. Maybe we just live with what we have and try to get enough applications.
There's been a lot of people who go about halfway through and just say it's.
Throw up your hands, right, not worth it.
Right.
There's a lot to it to even
Yeah,
get
there's a
started.
lot.
And then there's a lot to it once you get,
Right.
even if you pass the hurdles, there's a lot to it.
Right.
It's not just how many employees do you have and some other background information and you qualify. So we're running it through the end of the month. If we're not getting anywhere, we may talk to Susan about how we promote this a little better and how we
Okay.
make it easier for people to get the money. We want to spend the money. So that's all I have on that.
Okay.
Okay.
That's all I
Anything
have
else?
for full business.
All right. One thing I have, Sheriff and Mr. Grants and I met this morning and looked at the roof bids for the jail and had several things we discussed. And really what it come down to is we looked at the warranty, workmanship plus material warranty in combination, and really kind of what the end goal is when you look at the life expectancy of this roof, what happens the next stage in the cost. And with those variables, the top bid is the one we kind of decided on. Is that fair to say that?
Yes.
Okay.
You have two silicone and one acrylic.
Yeah.
I'm going to defer the knowledge on roof to Bob Grants and Commissioner Blair. But it came down to, really came down to the product itself also too.
What happens the next stage of its life and what it costs a second go around and kind of what they're offering for a warranty. And
Are you familiar with these
Yeah.
companies?
well, two of them. The one I'm not, is more what Mr. Grants had him do work in the past and is sold, or it's a new owner. But on the, really the condition, it's something that has to be done this fall.
Can they get to it that soon?
I'm hoping,
Yeah, I think that's the goal, is just
That's the
before we
thing.
really start getting into the
right. It's a point.
the cooler season.
Because I was up there a month ago, 2 months ago maybe, and it's not bad. You've had some leaks, but it doesn't need to go through another winter, especially if we have a winter with a bunch of snow and ice. We'll
Yeah,
have
'cause they
problems.
basically said, we're probably getting water somewhere in the building, surprised we haven't seen it yet. So it definitely something that needs to be done.
And then I don't know, I guess we can talk about the budget portion of it. We looked at, what was,
We looked at
The building.
building improvements?
Building
the
improvement.
building improvement fund.
This part, this portion of it, and then
Dollars in there.
the sheriff's department would be able to,
We'll take care of the
we'll
other
figure
side
out
of
the
it.
number component of it, but my
Okay.
main thing is I want to get somebody on schedule. I think, if you don't disagree, we need to get somebody on schedule to make sure it
Absolutely.
happens before winter.
Sooner than later? Yeah.
We're already starting to see cooler temperatures already in the mornings.
Right. And like most things, it's weather dependent and,
Definitely want to take a preemptive strike to it and get it taken care of.
so how old did you say the jail is? 20?
Probably.
Oh, we 97, 98, so yeah,
98.
yeah, so.
Yeah.
You know, it's just one of those things too with this, and I think people forget about the facility part of that. I mean, not only is it like a hotel, it's 24/7, so it doesn't matter if it's internet, HVAC, fire sprinkler systems, roof. It's something that, it seems like every year we're coming on top of something else. We've done a really good job throughout the years of staying on top of that building, because if you've ever been over there, you wouldn't know it's been there that long. We try to stay on top of it, whatever it is, and it just, we try to be proactive with that.
Facility's really nice considering it's that old and it never shuts down.
Yeah, so I mean, it takes a beating out there, that's for sure, but it seemed like every year we come into some project like that, and you just have to stay on top of the building. Like I said, it doesn't matter if it's water heaters or boilers. It's just, there's always some kind of cost related to the facility that we try to stay on top of. Kitchen equipment, you name it, it's something that we deal with every year. And this is one we really didn't expect this year, and is what it is, kind of the cost of doing business.
Well, that's why we've added that building fund. Because we talked about it for years.
Well, just like the judicial center last year.
Well, and the problem
I mean,
happens
there's-
here is if we start seeing leaks, that's not good, so it's gonna cost us more
Right.
on the inside. And we definitely don't want any of that hitting our server rooms or any of our sensitive equipment.
Okay.
Any questions?
I have none.
I don't think so.
Okay, so I guess just make a motion to accept, I don't know, I have to read that. Jeremy, I'll have a copy of it. Make a motion to accept the bid through Advanced Roofing Technologies. And then we can go through and
Figure out.
set up the
Try to get that scheduled.
contract here. Yeah, acceptable.
Second.
Was there a reason, because was that the more expensive
Yes.
of the three?
Different material. Wasn't
So the main reason that we discussed and kind of talked about is anytime you do a coating, it's not a forever fix. You're gonna have to go back and do it again down the line. So we looked at the warranty years and how long the workmanship warranty was guaranteed for. But in addition, what would the cost be to do it again? And that proposal kind of is doing some work that probably should have happened the last time it was done, in my eyes. So there was a more expensive cost, but it's substantially less. The second is 40% less
Oh, wow.
the next go round.
Right.
And that's what I'm,
Okay.
kind of how or my thought process of what's gonna happen, because it's not a forever fix, what's gonna happen next time, and if it's going to be considerably less, then
Right.
that was one of them. But they did quote some details on what they need to address that didn't happen last time. Or it would have been cheaper this time, to be honest with you. If that work would have been done the first time, it would have been
Right.
cheaper.
Right.
Substantially cheaper this time.
Okay.
So that's part of it.
All right.
Any other questions? Excuse me, any other questions?
No, I have none. Need a motion, I second it.
Aye.
All right, do you want each, or I guess I can give it to Jim. Thank you. Okay. Purple Wave, we'll do that Friday, so we can get some of these people out of here. So I guess the first one, Jim requested a 15-minute executive session or non-elected personnel, 3 commissioners council, and the new PIO, Sam Garrett.
Second.
Aye.
Jim, you want to go across the hall?
Yeah.
I'll see you. He said he might want me to come in there. And I go around to Arma and take some masks to schools. I'll be back after lunch. Be kind of nice every time. Now, I'll be here tonight.
Well, I came back and I heard what they were threatening the county with it. They were gonna ask them for money they paid for the year that operated on the contract. They were gonna just go forward without paying the county anything, just operate the contract.
Oh, yeah, I know so. I've talked to her just briefly.
What distressed me most is the county
Everybody.
attorney, both sides of the issue, have not done a good job at all. They're not gonna have to come and get the mud slinging plan, and, they're not coming up with that, essentially eliminated the whole thing from the get-go. Yeah. There's a big difference in philosophies at the corporate level. And that's, we've got a fantastic working relationship with the landfill and the regional, hauling operations. We work with them, we do each other favors. You thought they They were, I don't know, maybe you were the one that got the Did you, outbid them? Well, they shouldn't mind. Well, that was your first thing. That was, we had to call them and talk to them about, large gutter problem. So they provide 2 roll-offs for that. And, I finally came back to Dan and said, Dan, we are now, the county is, we contracted with the county and the city as customers for this. And we pass on the cost of the roll-off to them, whoever's turn it is. They get a turn back and forth. They divide it, 4 bucks and around 4 bucks. Back on the jam thing, administration, I guess, and their finance. All of a sudden, we weren't getting billed for the roll-off, for the roll. And, you know, so we kept billing the county and the city. Because the shooting was done. And finally, he said, I had no idea how that happened. He said, but essentially, you got a year worth of free roll. I said, well, that was not our plan. Our plan was to, so he was cool. Because, we're not associated with the county or the city, we're a separate entity. And we were servicing him as customers. And he was cool with that. They did provide us a regular roll-off at the back of the building for the materials that come out of the structure. And they give us 3 6-yard dumps for each, so that we can do our patient truck. That this all started from a company called Roll. Out of Arkansas. He came up here, he's quite the entrepreneur. He came up here and he wanted to do something for the software center, so he said, I'll give you a 30, well, actually, what he said is, I'm going to give you a compact. We have a compact for,
I said, because from the medical standpoint, we're
and
supposed to do what you do.
because I want to help your e-waste and your fish truck.
She asked me, she said, does he come or is he going home?
So what? When the wastewater bought in, they just took over what he was doing. But they didn't come here with us and say, could you get by with an open top instead of this compactor? I mean, this compactor.
Yeah, that's what he thought, he was that light.
Yeah, and we said, sure, that's not a problem, because most of what's going on is the waste from the e-waste is and the waste where we collect, there's not household waste. All the household waste is in the city. And we do have the transfer with the county. Actually, the county has the transfer. We just simply operate. Yeah, because when we were looking at that for the truck page and road, it was pretty clear that it was a lot easier on the county government side than if we tried. So they got it, and they own property inside our homes. They own the HHW facility. Yeah, and the truck and a couple other things that go along with the HHW grant. But it was the county that got the grant. And, they bought the animal area needed for the HHW. And so,
Oh, yeah, it helps everyone. It helps everyone. The whole
well, I'm just very disappointed.
It doesn't always
The
seem like
attorneys
it's
for both sides
but yeah, it's,
did not do
I
due
think it's
diligence
been very good.
at all. And maybe they didn't want to. Maybe they
said,
wanted to
don't
go into
worry
it.
about it.
Uh, Yeah.
And she'll have her insurance for email yet, so once she does, then.
Solid waste plant. And it costs us getting.
Once we've got one.
Right, that's kind of.
Okay, thanks, we'll see you later.
Okay.
Friday, for sure.
3401.
Okay.
Are we having an executive session or what?
They're in executive session right
They are.
now. They're,
I mean, when am I supposed to go in?
whenever they come back in
And get
and
me?
get you.
I wanted to tell you too, now, I don't know if the testing is free or not at Community Health, but if you have insurance, they'll bill your insurance. So, but it's the Community Health Center over on Michigan.
Right.
Yeah. But then they have a drive-through, they had drive-through testing, I think they still do.
I'm surprised that they didn't buy testing for travel.
Oh. I was like, what? I thought you were looking at us like, I don't know what.
Yeah, but if they had someone who wanted it, they might, they might.
And
They try to.
I like that news a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess.
It's
yeah,
nice,
that-
way better than.
I don't know what was going on with that, it wasn't
Yes, for
wasn't
sure.
broadcasted
I don't
any
know either.
picture for a long time, and then Brandon was on remotely trying to
We were
fix
in
it.
a, we were stuck in.
And watch, then there was, looked like it wasn't getting any sound. That little thing, technical difficulties like you used to see on the TV, you know? Yeah.
Now you just get some satellites.
Yeah, no signal, no signal.
Yeah.
I thought, we've been very careful because I'm 76 and got a compromised immune system.
Sure.
Cancer treatment, so, I'm really careful, but I was impressed with Minnesota. You did not go anywhere without masks. You didn't go into any building and you had to use their hand sanitizer and you had to follow the rules, in a grocery store. They were on that one member of the family had at the time.
Yeah.
And they were.
That's
really-
good. It helps public health too, because if you don't get inundated with cases.
Yeah.
And there have been some studies coming out now with people who have worked in different places still with a mask on, and all the customers wear masks and no one bought it, so just regular cloth face masks, so. I mean, when you think about it, if you sneeze inside a visit, that's.
It's nice.
Exactly, I mean, it just makes sense, but I think pretty much where I've gone in Pittsburgh since we've left the mask work, it's been pretty good.
The
When I go to
university-
Walmart, when I go to.
Yeah, university made a difference. We could go to Chatham because they want to wear a mask. Once the university required masks, then Ahmad required staff.
Yeah.
Not him, but staff.
Even if you can get 50% of the people to do it, it's good. It is, because at least it's helping protect the spread a little bit. But I know everybody's just trying to figure it out, really,
What I was much really talking about the Health Foundation grant that my students got to put in an aquaponics system at USD 247. $25,000 grant to put in.
I've heard about it, I think.
Yeah.
In Livewell. I heard about it in Livewell, in
Yeah.
Eatwell.
Yeah, that's the
Uh-huh.
one.
And they grow stuff in there?
Well, we're still putting the greenhouse together.
Yeah.
We finally got it all shipped, and I went out and helped them set the corner posts for the greenhouse. It's got 6 rails that go up, and they're tight posts that form the
Yeah.
post. And by the time we got 3 of them set, I had to leave, and then found out that the 4th one wasn't so pretty good. I said, so why didn't you guys stick with the diagonal measurements for square and where the strings crossed?
Yeah.
Why are you 4 inches off? Oh, well, we measured 12 feet this way and 20 feet this way, and that's working out. Well, I'm sorry.
Not gonna work.
That wasn't, anyway, if that were a house and we were doing a foundation, that'd be a problem. But these are just pipe rails
Right.
for the plastic.
greenhouse, yeah.
Anyway, we're trying to get the rest of the post set for the greenhouse.
It sounds cool.
Oh, it's gonna be so slick.
It sounds
And
neat.
students will be so excited about it because, you're growing plants and you're growing my student, Charlie Beach, we sent him to Nelson and Page, which is the leader in aquaponic system. That's where we bought this one. And it comes as an educational package. See, we've got curriculum for the teachers and,
Cool.
yeah. and-
That's good for them to learn.
Well, yeah, right.
They need to learn how to grow stuff.
And especially, you know, they're pretty far away from a big supermarket.
Yeah,
And
that's
they able to
right.
grow fresh vegetables and fruit. I mean, to be able to do a lot with it once they get it up to get it around. But we're still building the greenhouse, so they got all the components for the aquaponic system. And Adam's got laid the guy in charge of the workforce, has it laid out in one of the farms. So they're ready to go, we just gotta get the greenhouse up.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard about it at a meeting. It sounds really neat.
And the President Scott was really excited about it. He said, okay, so why can't we do this again and again and again? I said, we should be, you know, we get this up, and once we know what we're doing, we should be able to go out and put these in strategic locations.
And the fish kind of fertilize the plants, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah. It grows in the water.
The fish fertilize the plants plant the water.
It's kind of like a wetland almost. I mean, it sounds like it a little bit.
Or much like wetland.
I live over by the high school, we go over and look at the wetlands and stuff.
We built an aquaponic
Super.
system up on the roof of Eckerd Wells, the biology park, last year. And it actually got quite a bit of press. In fact, it got picked up by USA Today.
Oh,
Yeah. And
that's cool.
we got, there are sustainability students. that
Yes.
are doing this.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was all up in the North Woods again, and they just put the grant together with the help of the little.
Yeah, I heard about it. So you're an instructor there at Pitt State?
I'm retired.
Okay.
I was chair of the biology department for several years, 23. And then I retired in 2014. My area is aquatic biology, fisheries, and aquaculture.
I like fish, they're interesting.
And
They, you know, you can like look at them and they don't take much to keep them either if they're owls. Like, you don't have to take them out and walk or anything.
so now
I
I'm
love
serving,
fish.
even though I'm serving as a special assistant to the president for sustainability.
Yeah. Nice.
Work out of the president.
Yeah, I think that sounds fun.
Yeah,
That sounds entertaining, really. Interesting.
very interesting.
Well, and it's good for kids. I know through LIVO, we've done a couple of greenhouses and stuff. I'm the chair of the Addiction Prevention Task Force. I was the chair of Agewell, but then we got a grant at the Health Department for Addiction Prevention, so we had to start a task force on that. So now I do that, but I go to the EWO meetings. I try to go to all of them, but we've done a couple of greenhouses, and it's been pretty successful.
Yeah, those high tunnels.
The high tunnels is what we've done, yeah. And kids need to learn how to do that. They need to learn, kids need to learn how to plant and grow stuff.
Sure.
It's amazing how many kids really have never done a garden, even in a container. It's just, when I was a kid, I grew up in the middle of nowhere in Bunker Hill, Kansas, so we did all kinds of gardening, but like kids nowadays, they don't get that. It is. They don't know what to do. They really don't. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was an informative meeting.
Okay, so we're gonna go into executive session for 20 minutes. Attorney-client privilege, 3 commissioners and council. Topic landfill.
Second.
Aye.
You good? Okay. That's fine, no problem. Okay, that's where I'm gonna head. Thank you. Well, I'll see you all later.
Did you hear how we weren't able to include you because of the,
Say again.
we weren't able to include you because of giving breaks in terms of like our
So you want me to stay here to be at the next one? What time will it be? After this one?
I mean, I don't know. I imagine you might, but
hostage.
I just came over to get my car tax, so.
You're useful enough anyway, so.
That'll teach you.
Well, I had to buy a new truck, because my, truck died on me. Because I was pulling on I-35 in Iowa. And I was stuck in, Iowa Falls, or close to it, for a couple of weeks. And I found out that my engine had busted a crank, so it's gonna take an engine replacement rather than a repair. And I said, so what do you got new? And to my knowledge, they still don't have a replacement engine, even though it was under warranty and should have been replaced. They took it on trade-in with the, you know. Yeah. That is fun. I guess I should have figured I'd have to go out to the
Yeah.
police department, sheriff's
Department.
dog bring it to you. It don't come back in the trucks.
Well,
I have to pick a bunch of it up, it makes for a light load, you know?
it takes us about, for cardboard, it takes us about $50 a ton in order to break even. That's labor, power costs, and, you know, one thing that's really expensive is the darn top, the wire top. So,
Them ain't cheap.
by the time we buy the wire ties, that we run the baler, that we run the people, we lose our shirt on that casino compactor. They bring that thing out and dump it out in an area we've got set aside. And there is some cardboard, but there's also ladders from the wine things in there, that are supposed to be in there, all kinds of, they must do a land office business in tofu or something, but it's, you know, it's white creamy, it's not ice cream. But it gets all over the cardboard and makes a mess. I've worked that file several times. I told them, you know, I'm waiting for the dust to settle with wastewater. But if we continue with our working relationship, we do that for them because that way they don't have to charge the casino a dump fee. So they're dumping at our place. And we get the cardboard. But it costs us because we have to make, it's outside, we have to make all the trips back and forth. With those rocker.
Yeah.
And the forklift, you know, it'll tie up, we can only do it on days where the time is. People on the equipment side.
Did you get the salad bar there?
Yeah, Jerry made it.
I saw you.
Yeah.
That was all those. Hey, I did have one more thing on old business. Would you see Friday if, I don't know if it's a hippie question or if it's a May question. They were going to look at the sewer district and they were going to have somebody come in and see if we can solve some of the infiltration issues on 4th Street, and the weather's been awesome, so it'd be,
That'd be the time to do
I'd
it.
like to see it get contracted and done before we go through another winter, wet winter. And I don't know if that's a hippie question, or I know May and hippie are both working to, with some contractors to try to figure out, especially that new, well, where they took out the trailer park there, cap all that off.
Right.
Yep.
You want to see if you can figure out what's going on there, because that'd be one of our big expenses going if we get that fixed.
One thing I was gonna bring up, the benefits committee was gonna meet with Christy Mitchell to kind of go over that renewal. Then she was wanting to come Friday at 9.
Yes, I was just gonna announce that.
Okay.
Okay, so Friday at 9 to, so like a work session?
Work
Yeah.
session with Christie at 9, and then we wanted to have maybe a short work session around 9:45 or so with Randy. Wanted to talk about that Arnold group.
Right, yes.
Yes.
9:30, not whenever Christie's done. We'll move into that.
Okay.
Talk about our next steps.
All right, so put that under future business. And that's gonna be the 21st.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else before I do future business? Okay, so Friday, August 21st, 9 a.m. work session for employee benefits, is that what you?
Yeah.
And then there'll also be a work session at 9:45 with Randy and the Arnold Group, discuss Arnold Group. August 28th, 2020, 10 a.m. work, or 10 a.m. public hearing on Crawford County 2021 budget. Under announcements, the courthouse in Girard is open to the public from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. starting June 1st, 2020 until further notice. The motor vehicle office at the Judicial Center in Pittsburgh will remain closed, but residents may use the drop box at the security desk at the Judicial Center for motor vehicle and tax payments to be processed at the courthouse. Any other business?
Mr. Chairman, if there's no further business, I'm going to adjourn.
Second.
All right.